Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, and Facebook seems to be working now. Oh, that's cool. All right. Great morning, world. It's your boy Dragon coming at you, streaming all over the place. We got YouTube working. We've got Facebook working. 3 channels on Facebook. We're open in the Clubhouse room. I see my friends in there. I see people filing in. Clark, Catherine, Rita, Ursula, Ashley, Howie, Jill, David. Going to make sure that we chat with everybody. So if you want to get in the Clubhouse room, because we're going to have an after party chat, and that's at Makes Sense. So if you go into Clubhouse, download the app. If you need an invite, just let us know. Got a bunch of those. Clubhouse is a cool place that you can go in and we can actually converse after. So some people are listening in Clubhouse, some people are watching here, and to everybody, I say great morning. Couple of interesting thoughts. It's just me rocking solo today. We've got an amazing guest coming up on Thursday. It's an odd time for the Rise Up with Dragon show because usually we do it early, but we're going to be doing a show 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, and that's with Dr. Russell Fulmer, who, God, this guy is just unbelievable. He is just head faculty at Northwestern, and his specialty is just in childhood behavior. We're gonna deep dive in how we're impacted by our parents and things like that. So if all of you that like to blame your manufacturers for everything, you're gonna love this episode. But what's really cool about Dr. Russell is he's also really into artificial intelligence, and he's doing some heavy duty research on how artificial intelligence is debatably, replacing some sort of human to human interaction in the therapy realm. So, I think that's something that's really scary, but also fascinating. I guess, just the idea of one day getting therapy from a computer or some sort of a program. So we're going to deep dive into this guy's mind, and we're going to make sense of a lot of things. Really, really cool. And just before I forget, I was just thinking this morning because we've got some really cool guests coming on the show. I know I've told you before, we've got Jim Quick coming, and I actually spoke to him yesterday. So that's going to be an amazing show. And a lot of fun stuff happening. I've just become a team leader and moderator for Club Pod, which is the biggest Clubhouse club in the podcast realm. I think they have like 40,000 followers or something like that. So I'm going to be starting those next week on Thursdays at, I think, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's going to be like a mastermind. If anybody's interested in podcasting, that's a great place to go. Just, to join me. I'm going to have a bunch of like really prominent, successful podcasters coming in there and providing time to just strategize and mastermind. But I was thinking about like, who would I want? This is a cool question for you to ponder. If you were going to interview somebody, who would you want to interview? And I was thinking Jack Black. I would love to interview Jack Black. If any of you are on TikTok, I'm not like a TikTok poster, but I like to watch the videos. Jack Black has the coolest TikTok in the world. He's just nuts. I would like to sit in the middle of Jack Black and Zach Galifianakis. What is it? How do I say it? Galifianakis. Try to say that one fast.
Actually, one of my friends was personal assistant.
There you go. We got connections. So in any case, just wanted to remind everybody about that thought that I had. And also, you'll see that I'm wearing this gold jacket. It's actually a really, really run down. It used to be cool. I bought it from Zara. But I have this gold, kind of metallic gold jacket. And it's interesting, and I want to give everybody an insight today and just wake you up to something. Today's going to be a mindfulness practice, and it's called In Support Of. But it's March 1st. Does anybody remember what happened on March 1st last year? So I live on the East Coast, And one thing I can tell you is that on February 29th, there was 29 days last year. February 29th last year, that was when the first reported case of coronavirus, I believe, was in New York. And that's when we heard about it. And March 1st was kind of like the day that we all said, okay, this is going to happen. Now, we didn't have any idea what was happening, but I kind of recognized last year at this time, on this day, that some shit was going to go down, right? So what I did that day is I made a decision, because I'm all about placing myself in a better position to handle adversity. That's what my book is all about. So what I did, because it was kind of cold and rainy like it was today, and I made a decision that day that I was going to like Forrest Gump it and just run. I just started running every day. I got up at 4:30 in the morning. I did my rise up journaling, my reading and everything like I did today. And then at about like 6 a.m., I would go for a run. So I kind of did that today. You know, we're starting this March challenge, and Chicken and I are going all in with our health this month. But it was just weird because I went out for a run today. I put this jacket on, and this jacket is like warm but light, and it was cold and it was rainy out. And I swear it was like the same exact weather and day, March 1st last year when I started running. So I don't know, man. I just unconsciously, I just got called to do that. I just started running. And it was tough. It wasn't like a solid run, but I've made a decision through this month of March. If anybody wants to join me, I'm committed to getting up at 4:30 a.m., which is easy for me, and doing my whole thing. And then at 6 a.m., at 6 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to be running. So when you get me on my Mondays and Friday early rise ups, you're getting a fresh dragon. So as always, today's podcast is sponsored by Karma Mind, the world's premier meditation app. You can find that on iTunes. Got my chicken here, saying that with confidence and congruency, but also a little bit of fear, you know, that got to make sure that I give Chicken those props. But you know what Chicken's been doing, which is really cool. And for those of you that listen to her podcast, you guys know it's just awesome. But she has been doing these daily readings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where she grabs a book and a lesson that we both learn and she reads them. That's awesome, like story time with Chicken. Daily Buddhist readings, we call it. And she's got a website coming up called thedailybuddhist.com. Right. Awesome. So anyway, quickly before I jump in, two more things. It's official. I just saw it. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. But Google has been working on this for a while, and Google has just launched officially the first driverless taxis. And that's happening in Phoenix, Arizona. It's actually happening now, where a car pulls up, and it's a side company that Google created called Waymo, Waymo. So look it up. Car pulls up, no driver, you get in, pedestrians walking around, traffic and everything, and that car takes you where you want to go. That's nuts. So that's not an idea. That's actually happening right now. Wow, that's just nuts. So I was motivated. I was reading. So let's get mindful here for a second. I was motivated this morning reading about mindfulness, and you know, some Buddhists will actually meditate when they walk. It's like a walking meditation, and their goal when they walk is to be mindful and recognize all of the steps that they take, which is pretty cool. You know, so I just wanted to share that with you. Wherever you're going today, we have a tendency of making a decision from the starting point and that finish line and going there, but not paying attention to the steps, you know, along the way. And we understand that we're very, very goal driven. And if you're going to climb a mountain, you know, the best part is the journey up there. So just a little gift for you today. Just be mindful of your steps. Pay attention to the little things that are happening around you today. So today's Rise Up is called In Support Of. And like I said, in the Clubhouse room, we're going to interact. And I'm really looking forward to growing that. I love conversation. You know, here I'm going to spend another 15, 20 minutes talking. But what I really want to do is I want to hear what's going on in that wet piece of meat that you guys all have encased in your skull, right? I want to know what you're thinking. I want to have that live interaction, because what I really, really enjoy is syncing up and getting synchronistic with people's thoughts and making sense of things. So jump into my Clubhouse room if you're not already there. Download the Clubhouse app, search for me at Make Sense. And you can also find me through my Instagram there, because we're just going to talk in there. There's already some folks in there that I love and appreciate. We're going to talk in there, and we can also chat through my Instagram at Rise Up with Dragon. So in support of today's Rise Up, okay? So today we're making sense of the word support and the idea of being in support of something. So here's my gift to you today. This is what I received. I wrote it down, and I'm going to unpack it and explain it to you and take ownership of it. So becoming mindful of what it is that you are in support of is an awakening in two senses. So I'm offering you this idea of like, just stop for a second today, pay attention to the steps, and become mindful of what it is that you're in support of. And it gives you an awakening in two senses. So the first is that if you're mindful of what you're in support of, it can validate that you are in support of where it is that you wish to go on this day, this week, month, year, and life. So if you become mindful of what you're in support of, you might say, hey, I'm in support of the things that I need to do to go where I want to go. So it could validate it. But on the other hand, being mindful of what you're in support of, maybe catching yourself, and there's just as much value in catching yourself drifting into a place that is pushing you further away or holding you back. You know, we've been talking a lot about riptides. You know, I don't know if you've ever been caught in the riptides, but when you're caught in a riptide, you can see that you want to get back to the shore, but you start to fight the current, and it's actually counterproductive. It's not in support of getting back to the shore. So there's a way of just going with the flow and waiting for the time to get back in. So there's two things. When you become mindful of what you're in support of, you might say, hey, I'm doing a good job, or hey, I just caught myself drifting, and both are just as valuable. So the name of the game is not always to win, because sometimes the win is to become aware that you're not doing things that will bring the win. So let's make a distinction of what this idea of support means, because we get a lot of things because of our mother, father, teacher, preacher, which is, by the way, what our Thursday episode is called with Dr. Russell Fulmer. We're going to go over what our mother, father, teacher, preacher did and how it impacted who we are today. But let's make a distinction of what support means. We're all aware that we must take action steps with consistency and persistency. We talked a lot about that last week. If we are to get anywhere in life, we can't just decide where we want to go. We actually have to back it up with action. And everybody knows that. It's a struggle, but everybody knows that. So if you desire physical or mental health, you would take action with your eating, your drinking, movement, and learning, right? So when I do my Rise Up in the morning and I follow my program, what I'm doing is I'm taking action steps that are in support of where I want to go in my life. That's why I do it every day. And I do it every day for the same reason that Buddha, after he experienced enlightenment, meditated every day, right? We practice. We don't just get somewhere and say, I'm there, right? We also have to practice and get better at it. We're going to be working on this stuff for the rest of our lives. So if you desired financial freedom, for instance, you'd take action with your business, building activities, etc. So take a look at the things that you do daily. That's a good practice right now. Look at your schedule, look at your job, look at the things that you do every day. And as a side note, something that just came to me now, also be aware of those spots in your day that are kind of left up for negotiation. You haven't planned them, right? Those are the riptide times, right? If you just say like, oh, I have an hour that I don't really have plans for, you could get sucked up into what I call fake work or stuff that doesn't move you forward. You want to get intentional and book all of your time. If you're going to sleep, put it in your calendar. If you're going on a date, put it in your calendar. If you're taking a nap, if you're going to the gym, all that stuff, put it on your calendar. So in fact, become acutely aware of your schedule 24 hours a day. Here's another cool thing to do when you wake up in the morning. I like to start off with gratitude. First words out of my mouth are thank you. And then I say, how can I help? I love to be in a state of gratitude for the 24 hours that I've been gifted, a new set of 24 hours. We'll get into that. So our most valuable asset is time, and we all know that. And as you get older, right? And Dragon's going to be 50 this year. As you get older, that asset of time becomes more and more valuable. So what we know is that when we start to acknowledge that things are starting to dissipate or go away, they become more valuable to us. Interesting, right? If we could figure that out, if you could figure out how to value things before they become threatened or scarce, I think everybody becomes a billionaire and fully actualized and integrated with happiness and health and joy. Most humans, as they begin wishing they had more time, and encourage young folks not to waste time as it flies by, right? So when you get older, and I'm starting to do this now, I'm starting to notice that I'm telling my kids not to waste time. And they're like, whatever, old man, right? And I get it. I totally understand that. So this is what we call a mortality mentality. And I have a mortality mentality because it's how I actually evaluate and appreciate my time. So this mortality mentality is where the practice of being mindful of what you're in support of takes place. That's where it takes place, is recognizing the value of time creates the urgency to start looking at what you're doing with your time. Very, very cool. So how do we waste time? Here's how we waste time. We waste time by unconsciously spending time doing things that are not in support of what we desire and where we want to go. So that's what we call wasting time. Wasting time is not, I mean, you could look at it as being lazy or just doing nothing, but that's another way of looking at doing things that are not in support of where you want to go. Now, there's a time to decompress. I like to take a nap. We go to sleep and we do check out every now and then, but there's value behind that. That's to decompress and rejuvenate. But wasting time is when you identify that a chunk of time has gone by where you have not done anything that is proactively in support of where you want to go. So therefore, it's safe to say that unsupportive time is wasted time. So the urgency that we place on time, this is a big one, is if you look at time and you create a big value for it and urgency, it helps us increase the urgency of being mindful of what we're doing with it. See, I believe that if we waste time and we let time fly by and it's unproductive, I think what we're probably doing is we're not in a mindful state, a conscious state of understanding the value of time. So that's an easy thing to do right now. It's just to evaluate time. One of the things that I do in my book is I go over this concept, but I would just show you, if you start as a baby, you come in day one, and let's say you live on average 75 years, where are you in that? And that's a gift, right? That's not a guarantee. It's uncontrollable, but put a piece of tape on that piece of string from day 1 to 75. Where are you? That'll help you look at it. And also another thing that I teach people is look at the decisions that you make in life, proactive or against you, and look at how much time it took. Sometimes a decision takes like a second of time. It's immeasurable if you look at the 75 years. And if you look at that, you'll realize on the other side of this, the other side of wasting time is it doesn't take a lot of time to shift and move into this complete different reality in life. Okay, just got sidetracked. You'll notice that as you sense time running out in life, or as you approach a deadline, you become much less flexible with what you do with your time and increase the supportive nature in your action. Think about that. As you start to recognize time is running out, which everybody's afraid of that concept, but I'm going to do a Rise Up next week called Born to Die, right? And I was looking, who sings that? Lana Del Rey. We were listening to that song the other day. She says, there's a song called Born to Die. We're all born to die, right? It's hard to acknowledge that, but that is one of the goals in life. We try to avoid it as much as we can, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. So the sooner that you embrace that concept that we're born to die, then you'll start to evaluate time in a different way. So turning down this for saying, sorry, I'd love to, but don't have the time. So when you start to see time is dwindling away, you'll start to say, sorry, I don't have time, right? Wouldn't it be great if kids just figured this out sooner, right? Because here I am 50, I can just look back. I'm not going to say I wasted time because I'm happy where I am right now, but wouldn't it be great if at like 8, you understood the value of time? So you do in your own ways, but you know what I'm saying. So if you find yourself wasting time and not effectively advancing towards your goals, you may want to reevaluate and acknowledge how much time you have, right? So you'll see the answer is that you do not know. This is what's interesting. I gave you that 75-year example, but you don't know if you got that 75 years, right? I mean, does anybody have a guarantee that the proverbial piano could fall on our head and, and all that stuff? So you don't know, and it's uncontrollable, and wishing that space, you can create urgency, right? Within that space, you can create urgency and thus practice supportive actions only. So when you start to evaluate the unknown, the uncontrollables, like time, right? We don't know how much time. Today's a gift, right? That's why when we wake up in the morning, we look and we say, I've just been given 24 hours, hopefully, right? So I'm going to squeeze everything I can. So perhaps it will show up in your health practices when you create that urgency. Look at me now, and let's see if you resonate with this. I'm going to be 50 this year. That's a time marker, right? Like, let's say I'm hopeful that I live to 100, right? That's the 50-yard line. I can see that I just used 50, in the sands of the hourglass, I've just used 50% of it. So what am I doing is I'm coming in. What did you thought that was funny?
So are the days of our lives.
I was wondering if anybody was going to give me a hashtag, so are the days of our lives. So I'm coming in. We all do this. I'm going to be 50 years old. I'm 50 years old and I can kick and I can punch, that whole thing. Mary Margaret McGuire from Saturday Night Live. Anyway, perhaps you'll notice the wasting of time carried away with negative thoughts created by you to control uncontrollable world events by watching the news. Think about that. Let me read that again. Perhaps you'll notice that there's a wasting of time and getting carried away associated with negative thoughts created by you trying to control uncontrollable things like world events and watching the news. Now, this is a very controversial thing. I'm not picking a side. What we've been practicing at this time is not watching the news. What happened the other day? Somebody told me that we had bombed Syria, right? And I didn't know it. And a lot of people are shocked that we don't know that stuff, but I think that has a lot to do with our peace and joy and our ability to stay on task and productive. And a lot of people say that's not good. And I say, okay, I'm like, you're allowed to say that. So have you ever been in the, here's a cool concept. Have you ever been in the front passenger seat, right? You're in the passenger seat while somebody else is driving and found yourself, I know Chicken does this, found yourself hitting the imaginary brakes. Right? If I'm driving too fast, sometimes Chicken will slam on the brakes, right? And go, oh, which is actually why we almost get into car accidents where everything's fine until she screams, right? But have you ever pumped the imaginary brakes in the car? So this is kind of the way I look at watching the news, as if you can change things with your imaginary brakes. Just an idea, just a thought. Anyway, maybe it will show up in awakening to the time that you spend doing what I call fake work. That's another rise up. I'm going to do that. That's an oldie but a goodie. So fake work, meaning the stuff that keeps you busy all day, right? And fake work is dangerous because fake work can suck up a lot of time. So it's stuff that keeps you busy all day, but yet does nothing to move you towards financial freedom or your goals, right? Have you ever just done stuff that is busy work that you kind of inherently know doesn't have anything to do with moving you forward? So fake work is not in support of your goal. Fake work is in support of not reaching your goal. So if you're spending a lot of time doing fake work, if you resonate with the fake work thing, pump the imaginary brakes. So one more is in the area of serving others. This is a big one. We waste a lot of time. I don't know about you. I'm raising my hand right now, but I have a tendency of getting off track when others need me. I have abandonment issues. It'll come out in my book. And when you have abandonment issues, and this might be a breakthrough for you, and if this is a breakthrough for you and this is what you needed to hear, go read a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's all about hidden barriers. But I have a tendency of going to help others and getting off task. That can show up as fake work as well. So in serving others, there's a difference between helping others. So you might want to write the word helping and then on the other side versus supporting others. So I find that, and just think about this for a second, I find that when I'm helping others and I'm in helping mode, I'm doing most of the work for their goals. That's a big shift right there, right? If you're a helper, you have a tendency of playing the role of the hero. It's ineffective, right? Rather than being in support of others, when you're in support of others, they're doing the work and taking action steps, and you're in support of those action steps. Think about that. Think about what it's like to be in support of others rather than helping them. Helping them is, here, let me do it, right? Supporting them is letting them do it. Now, I've learned to always let others, including my kids, this is a big one for me as a father, figure things out and do things on their own, which is how they learn, right? With my support. If I ever show someone how to do something and I get a little bit in helper mode, I always make sure that I let them do it as well, right? They have to have skin in the game. So catch yourself in that hero mode of helping and move back to that place of support. So today's Rise Up was an offering of becoming mindful of what or who you are in support of, and whether or not is in support of what you desire. So when you practice this mindfulness, there's the practice. The practice is just being mindful, just being aware of this stuff. When you practice this mindfulness, you can catch yourself unconsciously drifting and reclaim control of the story that you're writing by shifting back on track in the right direction. That's what it is. The goal is to become mindful. And when you become mindful, you either validate that you're on track or you catch yourself drifting, which unveils the opportunity to shift and get back on track and get back to rewriting your story. Right now we're at the beginning of the month, and in our business model, everybody's setting goals and they fill out what we call a map. And when they fill out their map, I have a tendency of watching people set goals for the future based on what they know from the past. So that's called looking at the future through the lens of the past. People, we have to dream bigger. And the only way you can do that is to cut the string from the past. As if it's a kite and you're standing on a beach on a windy day, cut the string and let that kite fly away. So remember that modes of transportation, all modes of transportation, and you can use a lot of analogies there, are made to take you from points A to B. That's the whole concept of a mode of transportation. I feel like most people in America are trying to get from A to B in a rocking chair, which is really just A to A, you know? It's just a touch and a hint of B, but you never get to B. You just stay at A. So practicing this mindfulness and making sure you're not on your way from B to A. Catch yourself not on your way from A to B and on your way from B to A. Because if you're in support of your goals, you're moving from A to B. You're moving forward. You're taking a car into town, not a rocking chair. But if you're catching yourself moving from B to A, moving the wrong way, well, that is a car that only goes in reverse, right? So you might want to get one that shifts into forward. So just finally, one of these ideas of my daily morning routine, and tie it into this, is the daily morning routine needs to be in support of the right mindset. So that's what I do. I set my mind up. That's in support, right? I want to have the right mindset to support my goals, in support of the right response system. Now, here's a big key. A lot of the reason why we stop from forward progress is that adversity happens, challenges happen, and we don't have a good response system. One of the biggest problems in our world is emotional mismanagement, how we respond to stuff. So make sure that you have a morning routine. I get up at 4:30, I'm running, and I do all this stuff. Make sure that you have a morning routine that's in support of the right mindset, which gives you a better response system to the uncontrollables, the happenings of life. They're coming. They're going to happen today. How are you going to respond to them? Because if you learn to have a better response system, which is what my book is about, it's going to help keep you on track with supportive action steps towards my desired state. I want to tell you right now that if you meet the top people, that's the one thing they all have in common. They're not better than you. They're not smarter. They've gotten smarter and better along the way. But the one thing is how they handle adversity. And they're also acknowledge that the obstacle is the way, right? Adversity is omnipresent. Just like you were born to die, right? You are going to meet adversities. How you look at those adversities and how you react to them is the secret. Anybody can have ultimate, immeasurable, no ceiling success if they understand that. And that's a mindfulness practice as well. So appreciative of the new 24 hours, like I said before, that we've been blessed with, that carry the predictable potential. This is what I say in the morning, right? Those 24 hours that I'm blessed to have carry the predictable potential of greatness should we use them wisely in support of our dreams. So love and appreciate you. That's it for our live show. We're going to move into our Clubhouse room. So come join us, and we're going to have an interactive talk about this concept of being in support. So here's my clothes, which I made by myself. Chicken's starting to dance already on my iPad. This is DJ Dragon. Love and appreciate you.